Welcome to the regular meeting of the Public Health and Safety Committee for June 20, 2024. My name is Jason Chavez, and I am the chair of this committee. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Rainville.
Present.
Ellison is absent. Palmisano. Present. Vice Chair Wansley.
Present.
Chair Chavez.
Present.
We have 5 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. With that, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. There are 6 items on today's consent agenda. Item number 1 is a grant application to MPCA Statewide Organics Management for site development of a local biochar production. Item number 2 is accepting a Minnesota Department of Health grant for transforming the public health system innovation projects. Item number 3 is accepting a public health emergency preparedness grant for supporting public health emergency preparedness activities. Item number 4 is accepting a public health response sustainability grant for supporting a robust response to emergencies through planning, training, exercises, and response at the local level. Item number 5 is directing the City Auditor's Office to undertake an analysis of local government collaboration with healthcare providers through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services 340B drug pricing program. And item number 6 is directing the City Auditor's Office to undertake an analysis of other cities' policies and regulations that relate to the zoning, licensing, operation, and regulation of sexually oriented businesses or services. Is there any discussions on these items? And I believe the queue should be up. But if not, we can use the thing. Council President Payne.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I'm speaking to items 5 and 6. These are legislative directives directing our research staff to look into 2 separate topics. One, our 340B drug pricing program partnership with Allina Health, and 2 is around regulations associated with sexually oriented businesses. Last year, I partnered with Councilmember Jenkins on modernizing and destigmatizing some of our language. It was very much ordinance language that started during the AIDS epidemic. There was some language in there that just wasn't accurate to our most modern understanding of how that disease is communicated. And we actually had a lot of really compelling public comment during that period that lended itself to further exploration on this topic. And so we're working with our policy and research group to do that exploration. And then the 340B drug pricing program is a prescription drug discount for hospitals that serve our underserved community, so often underinsured residents. And so this program exists so that those hospital systems can give that service to those underserved communities while also benefiting in some financial relief for prescription drugs. And we just want to explore how we can either strengthen that partnership, whether formally or informally, and see how these programs exist in other jurisdictions. So just wanted to give some more context there.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I put myself on queue. I'm very excited about item number 5. We're working on that one together as well and seeing the information that we get back from our policy and research team. And also super excited about item number 2, which will allow us to explore the efficacy, impacts, and feasibility of safe recovery sites in collaboration with St. Paul and the Ramsey Health Department in addressing this opioid crisis. I think getting this information and research will be super helpful in taking a comprehensive approach to addressing the opioid crisis, not only in the city, but state. I don't see anybody else on queue. Seeing no further discussion, I will move approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. That carries and the consent agenda is approved. We will now move on to our 4 discussion items. Our next item is receiving and filing an update relating to the work of the Office of Community Safety from the past quarter and a preview of upcoming work. I invite Commissioner Todd Barnett from the Office of Community Safety to start us up, and I'll let members know that we do have 4 discussion items, so we will make sure that we can get here out on time. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Chair Chavez, Council President Payne, and other council members. Todd Barnett, the Commissioner of Community Safety here for the City of Minneapolis. We're here today to give an update and quarterly update for the Office of Community Safety and its 5 departments. You'll receive updates from our Director of Design and Implementation, Amanda Harrington, and then you'll receive updates from our Police Department, Emergency Management, Fire Department, Neighborhood Safety, and 911 in that order. Our mission, of course, is to provide a coordinated, comprehensive, and equitable safety services to all residents and visitors. Our vision for the city is a city where all people feel safe, social disparities are eliminated, and all residents have access and opportunities and resources. Of course, as you know, our Office of Community Safety oversees 5 departments: 911, Emergency Management, Fire, Neighborhood Safety, and Police. Although at least 4 of those offices have been around for decades, Neighborhood Safety is fairly new, but the idea for the Office of Community Safety is to bring these departments together to work collaboratively. The structure for the Office of Community Safety, you can see there. One of the things to note is, though I know you've seen the Chief of Staff, Jared Jeffries, around, also there, I have an executive aide. And then the most important thing, I think, is that we now have all of our directors in place. The Director of Communications, J.L. McLemore, also Director of Design Implementation, who you know is Amanda Harrington, and then Director of Administration, which is Martin Anderson, who really focuses in on the finances and has been very helpful to neighborhood safety. Q1. Here in Q1, I think one of the most, for us, things that have happened is that now we have all 10 of our FTEs in place, and that we've worked really hard with neighborhood safety to provide a leadership structure and also infrastructure for neighborhood safety so that we can get to that point of stability for them, sustainability, compliance, capacity as well. You've gotten, I believe, plenty of updates on the Community Safety Center, and Director Amanda Harrington will talk more about that. You know that forthcoming, and we've worked hard to get here, and that's the contract for our police department. Also forthcoming is discussions about the public safety aid. The safety design implementation phase 1 continues with the NYU policing project. We're hoping that we will have a report from them within the next couple of months and to give us an asset and gap analysis that will be helpful as we move forward. As we look forward to Q3 and beyond, I think some of the things that are happening, of course, is the significant summer events that we have going on in the city of Minneapolis, and how our departments are working together and working externally to make folks feel safe during those events. You'll hear more about the design implementation next steps from Director Harrington. Now that we have a Director of Communications in place, we plan to have a better, robust communication plan and engagement. As you know, we plan to open up the Lake Street Community Safety Center this year, and hoping that the South Minneapolis Community Safety Center will be open by Q1 or Q2. Our strategies during 2024, our strategic priorities there are to continue to help bring that sustainability to neighborhood safety and improve its processes. We look forward to continuing the safety design and implementation. You know that the independent evaluator is in place for the settlement agreement and forthcoming DOJ consent decree. We're hoping that we'll hear from the DOJ in the next couple of months. The first responder recruitment and retention campaign that started in March will continue. Accenture, you approved that contract, and that contract will end in August, and the Office of Community Safety would take on that multi-year contract to continue to recruit and retain our first responders. As council knows, we continue to work internally and externally to integrate community safety across all of our departments and with our partners at the county and state level. I will turn it over to Amanda Harrington.
Welcome, Director.
Good morning. Amanda Harrington, Director of Community Safety Design and Implementation. The Safe and Thriving Communities report addresses a phased approach to implementation and the need for planning and long-term transformation. I know you hear a lot from me about community safety centers, but that's not the entirety of my work. And so I wanted to spend a brief time talking about what I've been doing in the last couple of quarters related to the larger ecosystem. This first phase of design and implementation is not glamorous or exciting, but it has to happen, and much of that work is internal. So while some people may not think anything is happening because they're not seeing it, in truth, there is a lot of work happening behind the scenes. We've hired and onboarded the design and implementation staff, as well as creating committees to do the work. And as you know, committees need time to form and gel. The Safe and Thriving Communities report actually has quite a few recommendations related to governance, management, and accountability, and so we've been working on those aspects of the work, which includes creating processes for how the Office of Community Safety and the Office of Public Service work together. There were many strengths noted in the report, including a lot of services that we have, but we also had to learn about those services and avoid duplications. To that end, as the Commissioner noted, we are partnering with NYU's policing project to do an asset and gaps analysis. We expect to have preliminary recommendations from this report coming this summer, and a final report coming in Q4. As I noted, you've heard a lot about community safety centers, so I don't want to spend time on that, but that has been a significant part of my work in the last couple of months around community safety engagement, in addition to securing properties for the South Minneapolis and Lake Street sites. Looking forward, we do have a plan for safety design and implementation work that goes beyond the rest of this year. Near-term goals are currently in flight, many of them, and will continue into next year. Of note, we will be evaluating the efficacy of current safety services and contracts. We'll be working on drafting dashboards. That's part of the work of the NYU policing project related to the broader ecosystem of safety services. And we are working on 3 pilots with performance management and innovation, which includes a mental health clinician embedded in 911, using the traffic team to respond to non-injury or property damage only vehicle accidents, and piloting the ambassadors program in South Minneapolis. Looking further out, we want to implement a system that increases collaboration on safety programs throughout city departments. So, for an example, to extend or create new contracts, departments must come before design and implementation and talk about their project. They have to show that the project fits with our definition of community safety, that there is actual collaboration. It might be between departments, it might be between other services or other partners in the community. And if the service already exists, that there's data showing that the service is effective before we continue to put resources into that service. We also want to work to expand dashboards and implement recommendations from the policing project. Longer term, we hope that the design and implementation groups get to be more proactive rather than reactive, and so we'd love for them to be a think tank for safety needs of the entire city. Obviously, this work will require constant maintenance to be successful, and that means ongoing measurements and adjustments. One of the things that I'm very happy to announce is that we actually have plans and an announced location for the Lake Street Safety Center. We've spent a long time working on the lease, and part of what took so long was that the owner needed to change the space from what was a dentist office into our needs as a safety center. The process to get construction bids took longer than expected. But I'm happy to announce that a request for council action is forthcoming to approve a lease at 2228 East Lake Street for 2 years. As you know, the center was intended to be a pilot center, and it was intended to be temporary, so we can have it open quicker than the South Minneapolis Community Safety Center, but it also will be open long enough for us to build out fully the South Minneapolis Community Safety Center. We won't know exactly when we can move into that site because we can't, the owner can't contract with a contractor until we have the lease actually signed. But the center will be open 5 days a week. The hours will vary and will be adjusted based on community usage. What we know is that 311 agents will staff the center and be the first point of contact every day. We're still finalizing the list of partners that will be in the space, but what you see on the slide are committed partners. Some of those partners will have office hours, including crime prevention specialists, police, community navigators, and community city attorney. We also have community partners, including LEAD, BCR supervisors, and the Lake Street Safety Coordinator. Others will use the space as a touchdown space between calls or between their work in community. That includes BCR responders and the Lake Street social workers that are contracted through Hennepin County. I do want to note that BCR's role with the city will not change by being in this space. They won't be seeing walk-in clients, but they'll continue to respond to 911 calls. Their presence at this site, however, will mean that they can stay closer to South Minneapolis to respond to calls, they can store items that are needed in their vans, and they can increase collaboration with other safety partners. We'll provide more updates as they become available. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and Vice Chair, council members. Christopher Gators, Minneapolis Police Department Assistant Chief. As far as the Police Department and the implementation unit's progress report, thus far the implementation unit has an independent evaluator has been selected as far as the consent process. Or the settlement agreement process, and effective law enforcement for all, as most are aware, commonly known as ALIFA, was selected. We'll get back to the second point of the training and wellness assessment, but in brief, that has been completed. The training calendar, as importantly, has been set as well. This is important because of the fact that we have the need to change our calendar because of the settlement agreement, so we want to make sure that it's consistent, or I guess more so congruent with the settlement agreement, and making sure that we're abiding by the timelines within. As far as community engagement, we have hosted and partnered with the Unity Community Mediation Team, also known as UCMT. What we're trying to do as a department, the chief has instituted this piece of trust, and the only way we move forward is by gaining and earning the trust of the citizens, and we're working in partnership with Unity Community Mediation Team to do that. What the chief has done is asked them to provide mentors within their program, because within the UCMT they have a seat at the table from every community, or for every community in Minneapolis. So the best way to go about it was to try to ascertain individuals who are able to mentor our new police officers so they have a better understanding and can engage with our community and have a better a way of, if they're running into challenges out in the community, they can reach out and speak with one of the mentors and be introduced or reintroduced to solve some of those challenges that we are facing as a police department when we build trust and earn trust back from our community. We also have established our MSTAT. MSTAT for us is a way where we hold our command staff accountable. So within our own department, every week we meet and go over the strategies that our inspectors have put in place, and as well as our commanders and our investigation teams have put in place to better serve our communities. So the MSTAT we took publicly. We wanted the community to know what we're doing, how we're doing it, and have a better understanding of why we're doing what we do to serve them best. You know, as the chief says, you know, this has to work hand in hand with the community and their expectations, and this is where we can get input from them, bringing this out to the public to show them how we work through our challenges and how their input is actually inserted in our process of solving the challenges and coming to a resolve when it comes to crime and community engagement. As far as open houses, many of you have been to hold these open houses in our precincts and invite everyone is welcome to come to these, and we engage with community, gives them somewhat of a hands-on opportunity to meet with, say, canine officers, meet the dogs, horse patrol as well, but as importantly, meet these officers who are out trying to serve them the best way that they can and making sure that they're meeting the individuals who they're trying to serve. We've also launched an internship program. As many of you know, we've been looking at trying to come to a best solution for our staffing challenges. And what we've noticed is that the chief said that he's reviewed and noticed that as we try to bring individuals on our department, our schedule for our academy is sectioned off, because we have certain staffing for the academy. So what we have found that we were losing individuals to other agencies in the interim of those academies starting. So the chief had developed a plan and a great idea of bringing individuals in as interns, and in the interim of those academies starting, we are able to bring them in as interns and have them learn about the police department and kind of get them in pocket until those academies start, and that has been successful thus far. As far as internal affairs, the changes in policies and procedures for the committee, just to let you know that if you want more detail, I can provide that. Right now, it's just kind of a brief overview. But internal affairs are commonly known as our IA. Review for specialty teams and promotions. When we promote individuals now, in comparison to what it was in the past, or if they want to join specialty assignments, that's a privilege. It's not something that's a right for them. So with that, having that in mind, what we will do is review their conduct and make certain that their conduct is meeting the expectations of the chief and the community, and making certain that we're putting people in these positions that don't have a history of poor conduct. Use of force reporting and review. When use of force has been used in the past, what we had was a first-rung supervisor, or commonly known as a sergeant, review the use of force. Now the chief has implemented the fact that it's a two-part review. So you have a review of that first-rung supervisor or sergeant, and after that, it will also be reviewed by a lieutenant, which instills more accountability. So if something is missed by the sergeant, a lieutenant is then reviewing the use of force just to make certain that accountability and steps are held or are in place. As far as the compliance checks, we have talked before about part-time employment or off-duty employment, and the chief has again implemented a new division, which is a inspections unit or division, and that is very new, and that's something that will oversee the processes of off-duty employment, making certain that they're in compliance with how equipment is used, how vehicles are used, how individuals are at certain jobs in our uniform and representing the city, and making certain that they're compliant along with the hours that are being worked as well. So that is something that's new, and that's something that is just started, so we're going to need more data and time to get a sample pool of how effective that is, but thus far, in our opinion, it's working well as far as making certain that people are being compliant. Prohibitions on, and I hesitate to even use the term anymore, we've removed excited delirium from our policies and procedures and verbiage within our correspondence within the police department. These are individuals who are persons in crisis, and we as a department don't believe it is best to use this term any longer, along with many state agencies and law enforcement as well. So we've removed that from our communications. Also, along with trading and selling firearms that are owned by the MPD, the chief has prohibited any sell or exchange of firearms that we no longer use. Those firearms will be destroyed. And we are, I would say, halfway through as far as looking nationally. There are some agencies who still sell or trade firearms, but as our department goes, the chief has prohibited that from being done. Race data changes to the mobile digital computer. No longer will an officer, if they encounter an individual, be able to say that it's an unknown race. That is something that hampers the process of trying to calculate and analyze the information that comes in of who we have pulled over and what race they are. So you're no longer able to put in unknown. You will have to put in a race. As many of you know, we meet each other, and sometimes we don't necessarily want to speak about it, but we can somewhat articulate and speak on a person's race instead of putting just an unknown. And the whole point of it is to make certain that we're not having a disparate impact, while we're serving our community or creating that. So that has been changed in our mobile digital computer. New Early Intervention System, our EIS, we're getting back to the first point I spoke about with benchmark being a part of it. This is something that I think is going to be exceptional for our department as far as making certain that we can get ahead of with individuals who may be having challenges and get them some assistance before it comes into their actions on the job. So that is something that we have brought on board as well with benchmark. Robbery patterns and crime speed response protocol. As you've heard in the past, that we've had an uptick some time ago, and with individuals and robberies, we have now, as a department, the chief has instituted a process of calling in special units or special individuals who will come away from their actions and even come in from home to go out once a sergeant on the street has deemed that so many robberies have taken place and there is a specific pattern to show that a group of individuals or one individual has been victimizing individuals over and over again in a particular area. And now to combat that, we've put together a robbery pattern crime protocol in response. So you have your focused enforcement details, and I just want to make sure I didn't miss something here. Focused enforcement details. The goals for the focused enforcement details are to disrupt the criminal activity that are taking place within our city and gun-related crimes and recovering illegal firearms. We have thus far done 6. January, February, March, April, and May in the first and second quarter. And we will continue to do those. Thus far, the numbers are, as you see on the screen. Arrests from that, the totals were 140 from those details. Guns, there were 50 guns recovered. And probable cause pickups, that's what the PC is for the header of that column. PC pickups are 5. Those are individuals that are typically wanted by investigators as they're investigating crimes, and they see that this person, they've developed probable cause that this person is a suspect. They will put out what we call a PC pickup for those. Violent crime data. As you can see, our homicides are at 29 for the year.
Chief, if you don't mind, we do have a question from Vice Chair Wansley.
Actually, thank you, Chair Chavez. If we could go back to the previous slide, if you could do some, sorry, next one, fast forward, wait, where you had the PC pickup. There was the bottom part, if you could overview that piece too of, it seems it's related to substances.
So there were a total of, you want me to just continue down to the middle part, the verbiage, there were a total of 5 guns recovered that were auto sears. Those are your guns that shoot rapid ammunition as fast as you can pull the trigger. And those were included in the above. Below, there are totals for recovered narcotics, cocaine, crack cocaine, methamphetamines, fentanyl, and fentanyl powder. And the measurements there are the amounts recovered at this point.
Is that grams, pounds, ounces? Sorry, yeah.
I would be assuming, I would be straight up and honest with you, I would be assuming at the measurements, but that would be assuming that they're grams.
Okay, thank you.
And before we pass it back to you, Assistant Chief, I'll pass it to Councilmember Rainbow, and then we can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I apologize. I do have a previous commitment that I'm going to speak at, but I did not want to pass up the opportunity to thank Amanda Harrington for all the hard work you're doing out in the community. It's groundbreaking work. It's new, difficult work, and you're doing a great job, so thank you very much. And then, Chief, I just want to pass on, I've told you this many times, I'll probably tell you this every time I see you, but the fire department was wonderful over at the memorial for Officer Jamal Clark. It's so unfortunate that members of the community choose to deliberately vandalize that and to do bad things, but the fire department was there to help out, and I thank them very much.
So moving back to the violent crime data slide. As we go down, and you'll see that assaults are down slightly at 1%, and then the other piece of carjackings are also down, which is a challenge that we've been working on for over a year now. And then your gun violence index of 3,547 is down compared to the 4,073 from 2023. And some of these I'll kind of breeze through. I don't want to bombard you with a bunch of analytics and data here, but gunshot wounds by precinct. The important part of this slide, I think, is the 4th precinct. 4th precinct, historically, as far as data recovered, those data have shown in history that it has been the highest as far as crimes of shooting victims. In 2023, for an example, the 4th precinct had 81 in number. And that's in compared to, I'll use our lowest in the 1st precinct in the same year was 19. So substantially higher. In 2024, they were able to bring that number down to 66, which is a reduction of 19%. So it was an excellent job by the precinct inspector, and those working together with him and the chief's agenda on trying to reduce crime. I just wanted to highlight that part because that is a significant difference and historic low for that precinct. Property crime data compared to 2023 and 2024, burglaries are down. Auto thefts are also down. Then you have the thefts or larceny and destruction of property that are slightly up as well. Guns recovered as evidence. When you look at our search warrants that have been done, 63 guns have been recovered due to those. Suspicious vehicles that have been reported, and those that were at 41 guns recovered. Shootings, 40 guns recovered, property recovered, and that's merely on most instances when somebody says, I have a gun, I found it in the yard, or my kid found it playing out in the yard, I want to turn it in. That's recovered property. And that was at 36 guns. And a person with a gun is when a call comes in and then someone usually will say, I saw a person with a gun or brandishing a gun out on the street or somewhere. 34 of those were recovered. For quarters 3 and 4 and beyond, we'll continue to conduct Safe Summer 3. It has been postponed to 7/29 due to the staffing that we had to rework with the death of Officer Jamal Mitchell, but we will continue to move forward with that. We'll continue to work with our independent evaluator and their findings and with their 90-day plan. And once we have that all set, we'll continue to work with them to make certain that we're remaining compliant and working with them and their suggestions when that plan is brought to fruition through the city or to the city. And we'll continue to integrate with recruitment and retention efforts as far as our new, or I guess a few months in, process of advertising campaign, and what we've already had are kind of what we call the boots on the ground for recruitment and getting out in neighborhoods and communities, making certain that individuals who want to serve as a law enforcement officer have that opportunity. And of course, if they do not want to engage in that manner, we will obviously try to keep them within the enterprise to make certain that they assist with helping us move forward as a city. Final part for the police department, to give you an idea of our staffing numbers. Our funded strength is 731. Currently, we are at 563 officers, and you have an ebb and flow of that weekly. But currently, we're at 563 officers, and total active sworn officers is 554, and full duty officers is 516. With that being said, I will call up the next speaker.
Thank you, Assistant Chief.
Thank you.
And for everyone else here, we'll just wait for questions until the end. Some more explanation needed at a specific slide. Oh, and then Councilmember Ellison, I want to let the record reflect that he's here too. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. I am, excuse me, I am Director, sorry, let me back up. I am Lori Burns, Assistant Director of Planning and Emergency Management. I am not going to read our mission statement, but instead I'm just going to highlight that there are 5 main mission areas that we focus on to accomplish our vision and mission. And that is prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. The mission areas that we have are directly supported by the 10 capabilities that are listed on this slide. We have created performance metrics for each of these capabilities. Our data is collected routinely and evaluated against the metric to ensure these capabilities are functioning as intended, and presently, all our capabilities are performing as we have intended them to do so. Our team assignments and individual deliverables are tied to the capabilities that were just on the previous slide, or the functions that support these capabilities. This organizational chart displays the staffing and position titles within our department. Presently, our department has 9.5 FTEs, consisting of a director, 4 assistant directors, overseeing the 4 incident command system command functions, which are operations. Operations actually would be part of the deputy director box that you see. Planning, resources, as well as finance. And then to complement the rest of our department staffing, we have 5 coordinators managing specific operational areas of the department. Some of the highlights for our department for Q1 and Q2 include the NIMS Resort Project. Emergency Management Department, along with our partner departments, closed out the NIMS Reset Project in Q1 with our capstone project. The Integrated Emergency Management course was a 4-day series of trainings and exercises that culminated in a full-day functional exercise, testing the learnings that we had completed throughout the last year. We are currently preparing a final report based on our experience and plan to bring a final NIMS reset presentation to the CAL later this year. Our online employee preparedness course continues to expand, and we're very excited that 84% of city employees have already completed it. The department continuity of operation tabletop exercises are currently ongoing and will continue through Q3 and Q4. In terms of our public education program, our department engaged in several community events to promote and raise awareness, emergency preparedness, and emergency management in general. We've also updated our hazard-specific and our emergency preparedness information and resources on our website, making it more accessible to the public. Looking ahead, here are some of the focus areas for our department. Public education and outreach. Throughout this summer, we will maintain our outreach efforts to connect with the community, sharing information and resources with the community residents on emergency preparedness. Regarding NIMS reset, training and exercises, we are leveraging last year and this year's IMC training to uphold the lessons learned and reinforce our familiarity with NIMS principles and approaches related to planning, training and exercises, and actual events moving forward. Election planning. Our department is supporting election and voter services through election preparedness measures. These include an assessment of relevant risks and developing plans and procedures as needed. We're taking an all-hazards approach to reinforce continuity of operations and the right of Minneapolis residents to vote without disruption. We are also working directly and closely with Hennepin County and the Secretary of State's office to ensure election preparedness planning is comprehensive, easy to execute, and compliant with national and state standards. In reference to the National Preparedness Month, September marks the month to promote family and community disaster planning. And lastly, emergency management will begin its planning efforts in Q4 to develop our 2025 department plan. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Next up, we have the fire department, Chief Tyner.
Good morning, Chair Chavez and members of the committee. I'll let you look at that for a second. All right. So the mission statement of the Minneapolis Fire Department is that employees of the Minneapolis Fire Department are thoroughly trained and ready to protect the lives, property, and the environment by rapidly responding to emergencies and hazardous conditions. We are committed to prevention by proactively working with the community to reduce risk to life, property, and the environment. Our motto is serving the community and enriching the city. Some of the 2024 projects that we have worked on over the last few quarters continue progress on the emergency operation training facility expansion. As I think you are all aware, we are looking to expand the training facility by adding specialized rescue props to train on specialized rescues that our urban search and rescue team and heavy rescue teams currently work on. Right now, the nearest props that we can actually access to do that training are in Wisconsin, and sometimes we're not even to get those. Last year, we had to send people down to Georgia for that training. Creation of a new civil service hiring list. This civil service hiring list will be used to hire new employees in years 25 and 26. But it takes a while to put together, so we generally have to do it the year ahead of time. That is in process, and currently we are conducting our candidate physical ability test, also known as a CPAT test. So we did take in 688 applications this year, which is a little bit lower than what we did the last time, and it's gone down lower each hiring cycle for probably the last, I'd say 7 or 8 hiring cycles. They're 2-year cycles generally, but still plenty of candidates and more than we could hire in a 2-year span. So we're looking good there. The MFD EMS Pathways Academy, I'm proud to say, graduated here last Friday on June 14th. We graduated 19 students. Many of those students have already gotten their National Emergency Medical Technician certification and are preparing for jobs in the emergency medical services field, including here at the Minneapolis Fire Department. And so right now we're looking to get them connected into those careers. We also just completed a leadership development workshop series for the rank of captain. That cohort graduated on June 13th. We've been doing that every year since I became chief. We're not going to do a chief's cohort this year because we have a lot less chiefs and captains, and they've all had the opportunity over the last few years. So we're going to every other year on the chiefs to make sure that that we have enough students to really go through it. We're looking to upgrade our fire station alerting system. We presented that project to the CLIC committee. It was well received, and we are awaiting the results of that presentation. And finally, we're looking to secure a new home for Fire Station 10. The location that we have identified is currently the first precinct, old Fire Station 10. And so we really won't be able to move too much on that until, of course, the new first precinct is completed and the Minneapolis Police Department has vacated that site. But currently, we are working with Property Services to put together some cost figures as to what it would cost to renovate that space to inform our request. So, looking ahead to third quarter, we are looking to hire a new fire cadet class, and we're well underway on that. We're looking to do a class of 20. We do have some impending retirements. Right now, we're right on the number as far as our staffing. We are authorized for 434. And as of this morning, I had a guy come in and say that he's retiring effective today. That put us at 434. So, but I do know of many more coming up here over the summer months. September 16th is the start date for that Cadet Academy. The selection process and the vetting is in process. We've already interviewed and selected people off of the existing civil service list. We are currently working on the selection process for the EMS Pathways graduates, and the vetting process actually started last week with the PDAD testing and the background checks. ImageTrend is the fire reporting software that the council was very gracious to put in our budget for this year, and so that work is ongoing. We are actually finalizing the install of that system and beginning the training of personnel on that software so that we can switch over. We are looking to complete the creation of that new civil service list that I mentioned here previously. We should have that done by September and have it ready to go for next year, which also corresponds with the date when the new civil service list expires. So that should dovetail together very well. And finally, we're going to conduct promotional testing for fire investigators. One of those impending retirements is one of our 4 fire investigators, and the current list that we have is set to expire. And so we're going to conduct a promotional test for that and promote a new fire investigator at that time. So with that, I will pass it on to neighborhood safety. Thank you.
Perfect. And then we have Luana, Director. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair Chavez, Council President Payne, and other council members. There's no clicker. Okay. There, we'll use this. Luana Nelson Brown, Director of the Neighborhood Safety Department. I'm going to be as brief as possible. Quick overview of the department. We use public health approaches to help reduce the impact of violence on our communities. We build and operate local versions of evidence-informed strategies and best practices, and we work best when we partner with community organizations to develop and operate those innovative strategies. This is a quick preview of our previous org chart. What it looked like when it was an office within a department before it moved into becoming a department within an office. And as you can see on this chart, there's not really any leadership structure. And thanks to council approving several of our requested positions, we now have leadership structure in place, which is going to greatly affect the effectiveness and efficiency of our department. Those positions that you see in green are currently open and posted. There's a Deputy Director of Operations, Associate Director of Finance, which is going to greatly help us ensure financial policies are being followed, Associate Director of Compliance and Administration, which is going to be responsible for performance standards, audits, any requirements we have around the settlement agreement and consent decree will fall here, and the Associate Director of Programming, which will be mainly responsible for coalition, building, and cohesion, bringing cohesion to all of our varying initiatives. Quarter one and quarter two, we have been really heavily focused on building capacity and infrastructure. That ranges from everything from staffing all the way to improving our processes, including, for example, the staggering of contracts. Previously, they started and ended on the same day. We have a large number of contracts in our department, so that process wasn't sustainable. So now we have started a process where we stagger and they begin and end at a different time, which is much more efficient for our organization, for our department. We've also worked really hard on revising our RFP process to make it fair and equitable and ensure that we are selecting high-quality organizations to provide these services. We now have a large number of pool of reviewers that are subject matter experts that review our applications. Everyone reviews the same applications. They score. Scores are then averaged, and then our organizations are ranked and they're chosen in that way, which is much more fair and equitable. Also, processes related to increases in funding for contracts. Recently, several contractors appeared before the committee requesting an increase, and we always encourage people to be very vocal and civically engaged. However, any consideration for increases would have to take into account all of the organizations we fund, and we fund more than 70 contractors right now. We're continuing to make sure that we have an equitable and fair process as we evaluate things such as increases, and that process would include an evaluation of all of the organizations we fund. We'd also have to consider that there are other organizations that are doing good work out there that we don't currently fund, and how to incorporate that into our current budget. And any consideration for an increase in funding would also be done on a case-by-case basis, because one size doesn't fit all. We have to take into consideration things like the amounts that are remaining on current contracts, which can vary and do vary right now from anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000 remaining on any individual contract, with less than 12 months to expend those funds. So we have to monitor carefully and evaluate those expenses to better forecast whether or not the current funding will actually be spent before the contract ends. In addition, we have to monitor and evaluate expenditures for alignment with program goals and ensure that those expenses that are being requested for reimbursement are allowable. Any money that we spend on an expense that is unallowable is less money that we have to provide for direct services to our citizens. Oops. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Sorry. Apologies. Looking forward to quarter three and quarter four, we're going to continue the focus on accountability and compliance. Any discussion that isn't focused on accountability and compliance right now for neighborhood safety as we build this department and we're in early stages might be a bit premature. So it's important that we're very thoughtful and intentional on how we are investing and what we're investing in, and that directly relates to compliance and accountability. Some of the conversations we need to have are going to be difficult, but they're necessary, including encouraging nonprofits to continue to augment and diversify their funding sources. A heavy reliance on public funds is dangerous because these funds are volatile and fluctuate, and any decrease can directly impact services to residents. We also need to have conversations around the allocation of funds and how organizations are individually allocating. Quick example, if we're providing a contract of $150,000 or more to a particular organization, and 44% of that amount is going directly to support an executive director's salary, then that is less money that is going toward direct services. So we need to start talking about and having these discussions with our contractors on how to properly allocate public funds and how to augment those funds and diversify those sources. It's dangerous not only for us to not do that, not only for the city, but also for those organizations, as a heavy reliance on public funding, particularly a heavy reliance on a particular salary, creates a position where services could go away or those salaries could disappear. And our citizens heavily rely on the services being provided. The last thing we want to do is implement good, new, exciting, and innovative services and then see them disappear later. Also, as a local government entity, we are under federal oversight, and monitoring for accountability is both beneficial to the city and to our contracted service providers, but again, most importantly, to the citizens that rely on these services. So we'll be continuing to be intentional and monitoring expenditures for compliance and accountability. We'll also be evaluating the amount of support that we're providing to the organizations we partner with to ensure that they are in a good position to continue providing services. And over the next 2 quarters, we are exploring options, including exploring additional funding sources to hire an independent evaluator along with NYU to evaluate the true impact of some of our programs. That way we can ensure that as we're having the hard discussions moving forward around investment, we're truly investing in the programs that create the best and greatest impact to our citizens and having the hard discussion around divesting from those that don't. Around partnerships moving forward, we're continuing to strengthen our partnerships. Some of our partners that we're working with right now, we're currently negotiating a contract with Cure Violence. Very excited to have them come into the city. Once again, they've been away for several years to provide some necessary training and clarification around the violence interrupter model. We have current contract with NNSC that is right now underway working with our GVI program, which has launched successfully, and there's been several successful call-ins. Custom notifications. We continue to partner with MPD to help us with focused deterrence and DOCCR as well. And we will continue to evaluate other partnerships as we get our own ducks in a row. We're also looking to reactivate the Community Commission from our department that hasn't been active since prior to 2020. It's important that we keep a focus on the community voice and collaborate appropriately. We've released an RFP for a community trauma response. This is a fairly new initiative for this department, and it is focused on services directly to survivors and victims of crime. And looking forward to Q 3 and 4, we will be releasing RFPs for GVI in Minneapolis for 2025. And that is it.
Thank you, Director Nelson Brown. Now we have Director Joni Hodney.
Good morning, Chair Chavez and other council members. I'm Joni Hodney, the director at Minneapolis 911. Over the past couple of years, we've spent time really identifying what's going to make 911 the most strongest, thriving, customer service-based department. And right now for 2024, these are the 5 areas that we're focusing on. We'll go into each one of them in a little bit of detail, but I'll try to be quick. So as of right now, this is the organization chart in the department. We have recently filled the last of the management positions. We had an open training and quality assurance position, and we've recently filled the last of that. The supervisors' positions are currently, we are too short on that, although we are in the process of making an offer to one on those, so that should be filled soon. And the dispatchers and call takers, I'll explain in a little more detail on the next pages. We are currently now seeing our staffing starting to trend up to the highest numbers we've seen since 2021. This has been in large part due to a collaboration with the assistance from City Council, from the censure launch for hiring through our own department. We are starting to close the gap on the staffing in the 911 department. I don't want to say yet that it's completely closed because while we've got a class graduating on Friday and we have another class that will be starting in July, until they're trained, they're not actually a standalone call taker. But we're hopefully in the third quarter, we're going to be able to report even closer to being to the goal. Our 5-year call volume trend continues to trend in basically the same area. We're breaking down the first 5 months. One thing we have noticed in 2024 is we are running about 10 to 15,000 calls less to 911 for the first 5 months of the year than we have in the past. We do know we can attribute part of this to some of the software and technology that we've implemented, such as the alarm companies being able to directly input into the 911 system without having to talk to a call taker. Over the past 6 months, our training and quality assurance department has really focused on wrapping up the training that needs to be done. They have successfully closed the gap in hiring with the fewest number of open positions. They've had 3 new call taker classes this year so far, and another class of dispatchers and call takers ready to start later this summer. Into the future, that's going to bring our focus into staffing for training for the rest of the staff that's there. We need to be able to continually bring in some new information to them and let them practice incidents that could be on a large scale. We also will bring in human resources, BCR, other departments that will have an opportunity to engage with 911 and be able to exchange how they can better function with each department. Our quality assurance expansion is key to being able to provide the best customer service to our stakeholders and those that need to use the 911 services. Medical calls have been our primary focus over the last couple of years, partially because of the state statute that requires a certain number of medical calls. But we're going to be working on expanding that over those next couple of months and throughout the end of 2024, where we're making sure that we are having a consistent service to the public when they call into 911. Workplace culture has been a difficult thing for the 911 community, partially because of the staffing situation, but partially because of the environment that we worked in for so many years, as many of you know. It was long overdue. We moved into a new space in March of 2024. It's bigger, it's better, it's brighter. We have updated equipment. This is going to bring us into the future of what we need to continue to grow and thrive in the 911 department. Our peer support team has grown. They engage staff in many activities throughout May for mental health awareness. They're working on engaging the staff with Juneteenth events, Pride Week events, and bringing in outside summer fun activities into the 911 center for staff that doesn't get to see much of the summer. Our third and fourth quarter goals. Our LMC group was recently reestablished and meets regularly. This is giving staff a new opportunity to have a voice in what we do. LMC committees are getting ready to launch again, with having them launched by the third quarter, which is going to help engage staff in developing culture and fairness, equity, and inclusion. Community outreach. Over the past couple of years, we've discovered the benefits of being able to get 911 out into the community outreach. Not only has it brought us some applications for people who are interested in working at 911, but it's allowed us to engage with the community to find out if they know how to use the resources into 911, when do they need to engage 311? And we've had an opportunity to directly talk with people, help to develop a piece that we're preparing to hand out to let them know that all of you can take out to community events to say, hey, this is a good opportunity to call 911, or this would be an opportunity to call 311, and really work on our education with the community and the public face-to-face. And finally, what's new in technology? We have brought in the most updated technology to our CAD system, and into our training room, which should serve us well into the future. We're able to continue to train our own staff and new incoming staff with having devices that are going to be able to keep up with what's up and coming. The new ergonomically adjustable desks, boat lighting, other things that are allowing call takers and dispatchers to more efficiently do their job without being interrupted and not knowing that they're already dealing with a call. Our most recent software update and planned upgrade in fall of 2024 is designed to make sure our system is working efficiently for our stakeholders and prepares us for new technology that will be coming in the future. The alarm company, the ASAP to PSAP, as I already discussed earlier, is the alarm company's ability to be able to directly input calls into 911. We have noticed that it's working as expected, with more than 8,000 alarm calls so far this year being able to be directly input into the system and not having to engage a call taker. And the next big update in our phone system is going to come next month as we prepare to launch the automated abandoned callback system that will relieve call takers from many hours devoted in a single year to calling back people that have accidentally dialed 911. And with that, we are done with our presentation.
Thank you so much. I'll just, before I open it up for Q, if my colleagues can please just be mindful that we are done at noon today. I think it would be helpful if at least some of us can, at least 4 people in this body can stay till 12:15, but no later than that. And if you can just keep your comments and questions short, let's try to get through as many questions as we can as possible. If we can't get to specific questions, we can just ask the questions to the clerk. We'll write them down. We'll reach back out to the Office of Community Safety so we can get those answers back in writing through our regular process. And I think we can get done through the whole presentations, but I just want to be mindful of time. And if we can all get on cue, that way I can keep track of time management. Okay, Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is brief, and it's for Chief Gators. But I've heard 911 and MPD and MFD all talk about recruitment. I had a great opportunity to bring them all with me to the Southwest High School Career Fair and really got to see them interact in meaningful ways with young people, and that was wonderful. I was reading an article that featured St. Paul Police Department actually recently, and in it, it was discussed that the biggest value in recruitment and retention of law enforcement is really the feeling of community and political support that they had. And that's what really had people choose to retire or leave early or be interested in a job. The second most was wage competitiveness. But the third was about, well, in this article, they assert that it's about the knowability of these recruitment classes. And the feature that they said about St. Paul was that they had committed to 2 academies per year, and that having dates established helps a lot. And so I was curious, to the chief, you talked a little bit about that, and I think the internships are to hold people for the next recruitment academy. But what is our approach, or what have we learned through this first few months of the recruit push? I'm just curious and would love it if you wanted to respond.
Assistant Chief.
Thank you, Chair and Councilmember Palmisano. I will say this with St. Paul, they do a very nice job. I will follow that with, we double down on it. They have 2 academies per year. We try to get in 4 for opportunities to be employed. We also have an opportunity as an agency where we pay for the tuition, full tuition, and we definitely insert our recruitment team within our community, although we do go outside, but we have them inside the community. The chief wants them inside and giving those opportunities in areas that have not been sought out as potential recruits for our department, and we're starting to see that come to fruition. So they get their schooling paid for. We have the 4 opportunities for academies. As I was speaking before, where we were losing people in the interim as an academy was going to start, we have that internship program now. And the fact that many people are aware of the fact that the direction in which we are going as a department. Many people, and I've said in some interviews, and we ask, why do you want to join the Minneapolis Police Department? And it's often said, we are happy and we want to be a part of the way this police department is going. They're happy with the way and the direction the chief is leading the department. And within our department, after a survey, his numbers were, if he were running for president, they'd be very happy. They were, I believe, around 64-ish%. Which is really high. So the direction we're moving, the reforms that are being put in, people like that, and they say that's one of the reasons why they want to join. But we definitely have more opportunities than our agency across the river.
Thank you. I knew we were better. I just didn't know the specifics. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I'm just going to go in order, but I can actually start with MPD since Gator, you're already up here. So first question I had was, I know this is the first quarterly presentation that we've gotten since September of last year. And last year, MPD actually had some outcomes for their Safe Summer program, and I know you all are postponing until the end of June, but wanted to get a sense of if there's any specific outcomes you all are anticipating as you're going into planning this summer or safety response for this summer, specifically around, firearm retractions or narcotics recovery. I know those were listed out in the last Safe Summer initiative, so that was really good to see that you all had some metrics.
And Chair and Councilmember Wansley, we continue to have the same outcomes as far as what we anticipate having accomplished by the end of the summer. That is a reduction of crime and obviously narcotics and guns. That's been the concern and challenges that we had last year, and we continue to get more and more guns off the street. But going into this summer, the concern along with that is the impact and challenges that we've had with our juveniles and robberies and victimizing individuals who are living in and visiting our city. So we do have strategies in place and the assistance of other agencies and working in partnership with those agencies, along with taking into account of probation being a resource for us to make certain that not only when we arrest individuals that they're being assigned to a case a case worker with the county, and making certain that they, on the back end, come back out receiving those resources and are able to thrive once they're back out in the street. So we take more of a holistic approach than we had in the past when we first initiated. But in short, that's kind of the aim we're looking for.
Thank you. And then my next question is related to the updated policies and procedures. I wanted to know, especially since you talked about the formation of several special units, or if there's any disqualifying factors, especially around misconduct, that would prohibit an officer from being able to join a special unit, and if there's any, if there are those, if they're documented anywhere.
Yeah, those, and Chair and Councilmember Wansley, the documentation is within our internal affairs piece, kind of like a personnel, or what we call a blue card. And those incidents are maintained on the blue card, and that blue card is then reviewed for past incidents, and then a decision is made ultimately by the assistant chiefs or the chief himself, whether or not that person will be allowed to continue on whatever assignment they're trying to get into, whether it's a specialized secondary assignment or other.
And then my last question related to policies is, I believe there was some reporting from media around the change of policy related to pursuits, and just wanted to know if you could speak to some of the changes, or if there was any reverting of language around our pursuit policies. But I know I've gotten questions around that particular piece in light of the settlement that's going to be coming with Darnella Frazier's uncle, who was also killed in a pursuit. So just wanted to get a sense of changes around that policy.
And Chair and Council Member, if you can be a little more specific, the pursuit, it's kind of broad as far as in areas. If you can just be a little more specific, I can speak to it.
The MPD's pursuit policy. So I've been told that there were changes that were made to that particular policy, or exemptions, because, as you know, I believe it was flagged in our consent decree, the MDHR investigative findings, but we're seeing several cases that have led to fatalities of also civilians. So there were some thoughts that maybe there were changes in that policy that allow for pursuits to continue on in the way that apparently it had been questioned before.
Yeah, the only difference that I'm just thinking in my head, with our pursuits have been, when you're driving recklessly, you're going to be held accountable.
I'm sorry, on the MPD side. Let me specify that. Yeah, the ban on pursuits for officers in residential neighborhoods.
Yeah, so when it comes to pursuits, we do have a policy, and you have criteria before you can pursue. Anything that's been brought in since then, this policy has been standing for quite some time, has been whether or not when you have an individual who you see a gun in the car, there's just a robbery or something where a gun was used, and an officer engages with the person and say, I'm just making this up, say a traffic stop has taken place on the individual because it met, and fit the description of a vehicle and the person, and they happen to see a gun in the vehicle, and there was, making it up again, half a block away, an incident that took place, and it just so happens that the officer meets with the potential suspect. And they can articulate that, through what they received in information through either CAD or through voice of a dispatcher or through other officers, whether or not to pursue this person if they fail to yield or just left the scene. That is something that it would be most beneficial, yes, to the citizenry and the safety of others, to apprehend that person immediately. Now, while those officers are, if they do get into a pursuit, the rules don't change. The guidelines don't change. The policies don't change. They still have to continue to evaluate the safety of the public, They still have to evaluate the safety within intersections as they come to, for instance, a red light to stop and make certain that everyone is going to be safe. To make sure that the safety of the public is taken into account, and merely apprehending a suspect is not outweighing the safety of our citizens as the officers are driving. Those policies have been in place for some time, but as the most discussions recently have been kind of, as I explained, when you have an individual from the scene, officer interacts with that individual. Say, for instance, a gun is present on the lap of that individual, and they meet the criteria given for a suspect in that crime that has been committed, and they flee, whether or not that person will be pursued. But once a pursuit does take place, it goes back to the same, nothing outweighs the safety of the public.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Assistant Chief Gators. I'll go back in order to Director Harrington. I just had a clarifying question related to your part. Thank you, Director Harrington. So you mentioned the 3 pilots. I just wanted clarification on the one related to traffic calls that doesn't result in injuries. Can you restate what that one is about?
Thank you, Chair Chavez, Councilmember Wansley. I believe information was provided in the monthly update from Performance Management and Innovation that was probably more thorough. We are, again, in the very early stages of exploring this, but the idea would be that we would have traffic enforcement agents out of regulatory services respond to non-injury or property damage only accidents in very specific areas of the city. We wouldn't have the pilot be citywide at this time.
So I will note, I have not received a monthly update. Maybe it's lost in my inbox from PMI. I know we also invited them to AO to give an overview of their initiatives, and these specific 3 were not provided. So if we can have a staff memo documented for Director Hasbargen of PMI to get follow-up on that, or if my colleagues have this email that Director Harrington referenced, please feel free to forward it my way, because it would be great to know also when these pilots are anticipated to roll out.
We're not at that stage yet, Councilmember. Very early stages. I'm going to keep reiterating that. And it would not have been an email. My understanding is that the enterprise provides a monthly update to City Council where every department has 2 or 3 updates, and it would have been in that document.
Okay, you're talking about OPS. I will definitely look forward to, or look for that piece. I know council leadership meets with our executive administrative team. Don't recall seeing it there, but I will follow up if I am unable to locate it. But thank you. That's all the questions I had. And then Director Nelson Brown, I had a couple of questions around NSD.
And as you keep asking these questions, Vice Chair Wansley, we do got to get out of here by 12:15, and we have 3 presentations left.
Chair Chavez, I just want to also just get clarification, because I know you and I spoke on the CCPO, because this is a pretty critical presentation. Also haven't had this since September. Are we anticipating having the CCPO presentation today?
Yes.
Okay, I had assumed that we were deferring that to the next cycle, but I will continue on with my questions, and we should be wrapping up soon and get to Council President Payne.
Thank you. Yep,
All right.
There's the agenda.
All right then. So, Director Nelson Brown, quick question around the contracts review. You mentioned there is a panel. Is this a third-party panel, or is this happening internally, and who's selected to review the contracts?
It's a variety. So it's a collaboration between subject matter experts externally as well as internally. And the second part was who's selected?
How are they selected, these subject matter experts externally?
Absolutely. It is a collaboration within our department. We put out a wide notice inviting people to apply to review, and then we review those and we select from there. Currently, we haven't had to turn any reviewers down. It's a large undertaking. Like the last review was 25 applications. So we typically are searching for reviewers. Anyone that's interested, I would love to invite to send an email to our community inbox, our general inbox, send an email to me or one of my staff, because we are always looking for reviewers.
Awesome. And then next question is related to the staggering of contracts. I know there's been ongoing conversations, at least amongst this body, around unpaid vendors, specifically in NSD. And knowing that there's been pointed out from the audit report that there's some support needed around contracts. So has that been provided, or I saw in the OCS org chart that they do have someone that's supposed to be tailored to contracts for the entire office? Are they helping? I believe it's one person who's overseeing or supporting contracts so that people are getting paid on time.
Yes, we've received a pretty large amount of support from the Director of Administration, is their title? Director of Administration out of OCS. A large amount of their support has been helping us get a handle on that budget, as well as evaluating processes on how we're paying. We've also received a lot of support from procurement, and we've been working collaboratively to ensure that the payments are very timely. One of the last questions I received, for example, from one of the council members around an organization's invoice, when I went and dug deeper, that invoice was actually paid 24 days early. So we are seeing great improvements. I expect that to continue, though, as we hire our own Associate Director of Finance. That's going to be critical for us to ensure that those payments are timely and done in an effective way.
Yeah, definitely want to see the timely piece. And since you mentioned that too, there's an ongoing evaluation report. Speaking of one of the partners that you included that I know also had not been paid for quite some time, John Jay, they did an audit last fall of NSD. Did you receive that? Can you share like the findings of it? Because instead of duplicating work, if they already had pointed out some of the issues, especially around administration of gun violence prevention programs, it would be good to know if that's being taken into account.
Yeah, absolutely. So their contract is underway, and we're collaborating right now. They collected a large amount of data last year, I believe. That's going to be crucial for us. We haven't received it from them yet. We do expect it within the next week or two. And it's going to be crucial for us to develop our scorecards and do the focus deterrence piece. So we're anxiously awaiting and having excellent, robust conversations around that data. They just needed a little additional time. It should be coming any day now, and I would be happy to share that information as soon as we receive it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then just a quick comment, because I know a big piece of the presentation was talking about the funding around our contractors too, and the dangers or cautions of relying on public funds. I will at least just say to this body, as we're going into our budget conversations, especially around even the police contract, of where we're talking about repurposing public safety aid that was relegated for comprehensive safety solutions, and using that for one sole police contract. I think it does bring up a conversation that has not been tended to, of we also should be providing ongoing sufficient full funding for our violence prevention funders as well. And I know Councilmember Chavez and I will be meeting with you and Commissioner Barnett to talk about Safe Summer and getting some of those folks funded that maybe had not been taken into account previously. But I do think it's important for us to start rethinking how we take serious our unarmed safety services, so that they're not constantly feeling like they're put on a back burner or not being paid in a timely manner, or taking into account a lot of the work that they're doing to save lives over the summer. So I know that's going to be a budget matter that I'm going to be taking up. And I know a number of you are invested, because we've had a lot of contracts that we've had to save ourselves when the administration has fallen short. So I just want to flag that and let folks know that's definitely going to be an ongoing priority. Thank you, Director Brown.
Thank
Those
you.
are all the questions I had.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wansley. Nobody else is on cue. So, seeing no further questions, I will direct the clerk to receive and file that report. Moving on to item number 8 is receiving and filing a report relating to school-based clinics programs in the health department. I'll invite Barbara Kyle from the health department to give that report. Thank you for being here and for being so patient.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Chavez and Vice Chair Wansley and the committee. It's wonderful to be here to give an update about our school-based clinic program. I have Polly Yang, the assistant manager of the school-based clinic, and quite a few of school-based clinic staff in the audience. So I'm just going to give an overview of our school-based clinic program. We have a strong history of providing school-based clinics. We've been around since the early 80s. And we have a strong track record. So moving along, this is a wrap that we have on a lot of our doors to be really vibrant and show who we are within the schools. So you can go to the next one. I wanted to let you know that we have an integrated model at our site. We have staff that are at 9 locations. We've expanded. During COVID, we opened a new clinic for Fair Wellstone downtown, and recently Wellstone has moved down the street to MCTC. So now we're at 9 locations in Minneapolis. We are not at North High, but we're at all the other high schools. We're not at North High because historically North Point has always operated a wonderful school-based clinic there. I just wanted to show this overview of the model of a school-based clinic, a look at the children. People get confused sometimes thinking, well, isn't there a school nurse? Isn't there a school social worker? And so I think this is really helpful to show that we're a distinct clinic within the school, working very closely with the school nurse, the school social workers, and really focus together to improve outcomes for young people, improve health outcomes and educational outcomes. So it's a very strong partnership that we have. Just moving ahead is kind of highlighting our integrated model. So we have staff that are medical providers. We have nurse practitioners and physician assistants. We have mental health therapists. We have health educators and medical assistants at all of our locations. In all, we have about 35 FTEs, but we also have some other partners. With us are the CDC. We have 2 public health associates. We often have mental health interns and medical residents from the family practice program. Our services are set to be very adolescent-friendly, very accessible. We can provide confidential services when necessary, and we are where the young people are at. We also don't provide, our services are for everyone, so we don't provide, there's no cost to the students or their family. I think I just wanted to give you a few overviews of the makeup of our services, and so this is an overall from our last school year. Our data is from 22-23. We're almost done with this school year. Our school ended last week. But we have about a third of our services that are mental health, about a third overall are sexual and reproductive health, and then about a third are health education and physical health. So we provide a variety of services. And I'm just going to move and tell you a little bit about the people that we serve are our clients. They really reflect who's in those schools, and it varies a little bit school by school. But this is our overall makeup. We have about 65 to 70% of our kids are BIPOC, made up of the groups of kids that attend that high school. And I just wanted to point out, last school year we had 2,622 unique clients that we served, and of those, almost 272 were mental health clients. And overall, we had over 11,000 individual one-to-one visits, and of those visits, almost 4,000 were mental health visits. We also, in a minute, I'll talk about our health education, that we have other contacts in groups. So I think we can go to the next. I was just wanted to share this slide because a couple of years ago we did a presentation, and it was during COVID. And you can see just on this graph that we did a lot during COVID with our clients, but schools were closed. We had a strike, and so we had a lot of recovery. And so the last 2 years we've done a lot of work to catch kids up with immunizations, well child care, and then we've seen an increased demand for certain types of care like mental health. And so I think we're on a way up, and I believe this year will exceed 11,000 visits. And then again, I think another question is like, what insurance do these young people have? Do they have other medical services? And about over 50%, close to 60% are on public healthcare programs. About 20% to 15%. Again, this varies school to school, or on commercial or private insurance. And then we have probably 25 to 30% that have no insurance. And so, again, insurance is like a banana peel. It does fluctuate quite a bit, so every month it can be different, but that's an overall summary of our insurance. Another big thing besides doing individual visits is we have developed a youth council. Our youth council, we call it the council. It stands for Teen Health Empowerment Council. Our council started about 10 years ago, and we have representatives from all of our high schools who come together twice a month to give us feedback, but also take on some leadership. They help us with outreach and other. They really advise us and give us a voice in making sure that our services are directed and friendly to adolescents. This picture actually is our facilitator is the one with the dress at the end, and the other 3 students attended our state School-Based Healthcare Alliance meeting this last winter. And this is a recent photo of the council when they celebrated at the end of the year celebration of all the work that they did. I think I mentioned a lot about our one-to-one visits. Another big piece of the school-based clinics is health education. In the last years, we've gotten specialized funding to do evidence-based sexual health education co-taught with the teachers within the schools. And so we, in the last 2 years, have been doing the sex ed and co-teaching, doing 15 sessions every semester with the teacher. But in addition to doing our evidence-based flash curriculum, they do a lot of other presentations on different topics. They do outreach during the lunchroom. They do open houses. And a year ago, we had over almost 22,000 contacts with people in our group activities. Now I just want to go to mental health a little bit. This is a lovely photo of our current staff. Our mental health program is part of a school-based mental health model, and this is an evidence-based practice framework that Hennepin County and in the state of Minnesota is adopted, where mental health is really embedded within a school, providing a lot of partnerships with the teachers, with the support staff, doing working with all of the students to really develop referrals for kids. And so it's more of a systematic approach, and along with doing one-to-one, our mental health therapists provide they provide trauma-informed care. They meet people where they're at, and so we know that if kids can get mental health within a school, it is so much more successful than trying to get them connected in the community. Also, our mental health staff do a lot of support on IEPs and 504 plannings. They do responses when there's crises within the school, so not just the family, but the building and the teachers. They do professional development. And then they coordinate their care with our medical team as well, if clients need medications and that sort of thing. You can go to the next slide. We've seen, as everybody's been hearing, an increased demand. We have, and 2 years ago, we were able to get ARPA funding to expand some of our services and have more mental health therapy available. But we're seeing more complex needs. We're also seeing the whole system, less referral places, limited programming, and we're full. We have a waiting list within the first few months of school. And at this time, we're seeing really full caseloads and a huge demand. And we also are facing, and we'll talk about it, I'll talk a little bit more about it, some funding shortages. As I mentioned, we were able to receive ARPA funding, and that money's going away. And so we have a current budget request into the mayor to keep those positions so that we don't have to lay off and cut back on our services when the demand is so big. Recently, our mental health team worked with a couple students, and so we want to show a really short video that two students gave some, I think, really important information about mental health services and the importance in the school-based clinic. So you can show that video.
Mental health services because there was kind of a stigma around it. At least that's how I grew up feeling. So it's important that you have a service like this at the school where students have a support system they may not at home, or even be able to talk about something that they can't talk about elsewhere.
I wouldn't have been able to financially afford it outside of the school-based clinic due to my financial situations, but the school-based clinic provides free services, so I didn't have to worry about paying any copay or anything even after coming to the clinic after my appointments.
I think one of the biggest benefits having the school-based clinic right here in the building is it's so accessible and almost easy to reschedule, especially when you've got, like, let's say you're in therapy because you've got a lot going on. You might miss school already enough, so the clinic makes it a little easier to schedule appointments where you don't have to miss as much school. It's safe, it's welcoming, and they really do provide a lot.
I know for a fact, if this wasn't provided for me, I wouldn't have been able to persevere through my school years at Washburn and just find the urge to just keep pushing. But knowing that I had an outlet and a resource to go to, it was a lot easier for me to just tell myself, it's okay, one more day, you can do it.
Thanks, Polly. Yeah, I think it's a powerful video, the voice of young people, and I thought they were very articulate, talking about how important the service is to them in their lives in school. I think I just want to move on a little bit. I think a question that comes up is how do we do our services? How are we funded? And I wanted to share that it's a very complicated budget. We have many different sources that we're balancing. We do bill insurance, so third-party and public insurance, we bill whenever possible, and that's a relatively large amount of dollars that we can receive doing that. We also receive some of the maternal child health block grant from the state to the city and to the health department that comes to the school-based clinic. We receive the local public health funding. Some of that comes directly to the school-based clinics. And as I kind of mentioned to start, we probably have 8 to 10 competitive grants that really support our health education program, the model that I was talking about. It also supports sexual health, mental health, all of our services. We probably, each area have a couple different grants. I just also wanted to point out when I'm looking at this picture, that's a wonderful photo of our medical assistants in the school-based clinics, and it was Medical Assistants Week a month or so ago, and I think it's nice to see that photo. So we are kind of on a funding cliff. That's what that is, a cliff. We are at the point where we have a huge demand for our services, in particular mental health. And we have some funding, the ARPA dollars that are going away that really allowed us to do so much more. A lot of times grants are wonderful, but they have a lot of rules and conditions and things that, and they come and go. And so, we're really always aiming to have more of a stable funding source for the school-based clinics. And so that's a goal of the clinics. Go ahead. And then I just want to point out, we did a training on the 10th floor of our new building, and that's a big group of school-based clinic staff. I feel we have amazing, talented, really committed, passionate folks that really care about adolescents and are able to provide the care to keep kids healthy and in schools and Yeah, so I think with that, I want to invite any of you to come visit a school-based clinic. It's summer. We do work in the summer as well. We have summer school, so not as intensive as we do during the school year, but we'd love to have any of you or all of you come to visit our clinics. I know some of you, Councilmember Walsley has come, and I think Payne, and we'd love to have you come. And with that, I just want to end the presentation and open it up if there's any questions or anything that myself or my colleagues might be able to answer that you're interested in.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for the incredible work, and the video itself, I think, puts into perspective the importance of this incredible program and why it needs to be here for the years and decades to come. I think what I would love to see is like my office setting up a meeting with the department and figuring out what the sustainable funding look like for the future to make sure that this program not only is here to stay, but what it could look like in more schools in our city. I think it's an incredible thing. This isn't a question, but I would love to see the statistics at the end of the year of the demographics. I know there's a lot of more immigrant youth coming into the city, and would love to see what that means with the program and if the demographics are shifting because of that. And at the same time, would love to visit. I think it's something I would love to see in person. And even if members of this committee want to go together, I think that would be pretty cool too. So I don't have questions, just would love to see the statistics at the end of the year, and would love to set up a meeting as we look at the sustainable funding. And then one last thing, actually, I do have a question. If you can clarify the position that you're asking for, so there isn't any cuts, I would love to know a little bit more about that. You mentioned that at the middle of your presentation, you've made an ask. Want to make sure that at least council knows what that ask is so we can be supportive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Chair Chavez, and you're more than welcome. And we do have an annual report that will finish in July that has a lot more specifics. What we're asking in the mayor's budget is to sustain the 3 positions that are mental health therapists that have, they're all people of color, they're at different locations, and we're asking for a little over $300,000 to maintain those positions, which ARPA ends the end of December of this year. 24.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll reach back out. We'll set up a meeting regarding that, and we can talk about it after August if it's included or not.
Great. Thank you.
Vice Chair Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. Yeah, I also had a follow-up question related to funding, though, like the picture clip art was cool. I really wish I could have seen some specific numbers in terms of, you mentioned the ARPA dollars, and I get that, and I really wish we had not set a precedent of funding FTE positions that need to be sustained ongoing and using one-time dollars to do so, because we're in this predicament now. But wanted to know if any of the programmatic pieces that you all provide are also part of that cliff with the ARPA dollars phasing out in addition to the FTEs.
Right now, we're just asking for those 3 mental health positions, and we also, I should have mentioned earlier, we received in 2022 some general fund that we'd never received any general fund for the school-based healthcare centers, and that's been very helpful when a workforce grant went away. And so this is also asking for general fund for these mental health positions. And we are working right now on 3 grants that are due next week, and so it's always a little bit of a hustle, but we're just seeing the demands are so great that we just don't want to cut back at the time when we're being asked and to meet more and more needs of young people.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like lots of follow-up on money today. So yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. We really appreciate all the work you are doing for our youth.
Thank you so much.
The next, seeing no further discussions, I will direct the clerk to receive and file that report. Our next item is item number 9, is receiving and filing a report from the City Auditor's Policy and Research Division and the Department of Health to evaluate potential CO2 pollution control annual registrations, the P-card program, and additional pollutants that could be added to the 2026 P-card fee schedule. I'll invite Ashley from the Office of the City Auditor to give that report.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Chavez and members of the committee. My name is Ashley Juk from the City Auditor's Policy and Research Division. I'm joined today by Jenny Lansing from the Health Department's Sustainability, Healthy Homes, and Environment Division to give our joint presentation on the Pollution Control Annual Registration Program. A brief reminder of the legislative directive First, to evaluate a potential CO2e pollution control annual registration, or PCAR program, starting in 2025, including the cost of staffing, administration, enforcement, and mitigation. Second, to evaluate additional pollutants that could be added to the 2026 PCAR fee schedule. With that, I will hand it over to Jenny to address the first piece of the directive.
Hey. Thank you, Chair Chavez. I'm Jenny Lansing. I'm the Senior Environmental Project Manager in the Health Department, and I will be talking about the Health Department's evaluation of a CO2e PCAR program. We presented on this back in January. At that time, we had a complete fee study and a complete overview of what the PCAR program is. So just a really quick review. The Pollution Control Annual Registration, or PCAR as we call it, is a registration of equipment and processes that adversely impact or have the potential to impact the physical environment and or the public health. In our space today, we'll be talking mostly about the processes here and not as much about the equipment. PCAR fees are charged to recover the cost of oversight and management of the PCAR portfolio, inspections of PCAR facilities, and mitigation of pollution. So when we're looking at a CO2e PCAR program, well, first of all, I'm going to use a few terms interchangeably here. You might hear me say greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide equivalent, CO2e. They're all used interchangeably. Greenhouse gas emissions are measured in a common unit that is called carbon dioxide equivalent, or CO2e. CO2e includes carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. So the reason for us to do a CO2e PCAR program is to increase our efforts to reduce greenhouse gases from industrial sources or large facilities in Minneapolis. And in order to do that, we can follow the goals set forth in our climate equity plan that are outlined here on this slide. The climate equity plan sets new climate and equity goals for the next 10 years. The goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 75% by 2030, and that's 75% from the 2006 baseline levels, and achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. In the climate equity plan, there is a section that outlines a strategy on how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from buildings and industry. 3 of those 4 strategies in the industrial sector could be addressed with this new CO2e PCAR program. The 4th is related to energy benchmarking that we have a program for already. So the 3 strategies that we could address with this CO2e PCAR program would be equitably reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the industrial sector through increased research and knowledge of industrial energy use in Minneapolis, align the state greenhouse gas reducing policies, programs, and incentives to achieve the city's reduction goals, and advance partnerships that meaningfully support, implement, and promote industrial emissions reductions. So the CO2e PCAR program would address emissions of greenhouse gases from industrial facilities that are not already covered by the franchise fee program. The way that this works is we receive data on facility emissions from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, or MPCA, for all facilities in Minneapolis that have an air emissions permit. That's a state air emissions permit. If those facilities burn combustion fuels, they report the amount of fuel used to the MPCA, and based on the amount and type of fuel, the MPCA calculates their CO2e emissions. So in this slide here, what we're seeing on the left in this pie chart is the sources of greenhouse gases for citywide emissions from the year 2021. This is all greenhouse gas emissions, not just from industrial facilities. And you can see from this pie chart that for a 5th consecutive year, fossil gas or natural gas was the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the city of Minneapolis. That was followed by electricity and on-road transportation. Now the table on the right shows the breakdown of the fuel types of carbon dioxide equivalent that can be included in the CO2e PCAR program and how they compare to the citywide greenhouse gas emissions. So you can see that overall we're talking about a very small percent of the overall citywide greenhouse gas emissions, less than 1%. However, it is still an important aspect of greenhouse gas emissions and will help us meet the goals of the Climate Equity Plan. So this legislative directive requested for us to evaluate the cost of staffing, administration, and enforcement of a potential CO2e pollution control annual registration program. I just want to point out that this is not a budget request. This is simply the response to the legislative directive of that evaluation. The staffing model for this program would focus on outreach to the large facilities. Outreach to these large facilities and getting them to engage in voluntary green cost share projects over the years has been very challenging. Of the more than 1,300 green cost share projects that we have done at the city, only 7 of those projects have been completed in these large industrial sites. The goal of this program is to increase that number of voluntary air pollution reduction projects that are going through the green cost share program, and to help businesses and property owners connect to technical assistance partners and apply for additional funding opportunities. This could be accomplished through the hiring of 1 FTE that is experienced in environmental or chemical engineering. This staff would conduct site visits and complete technical analyses of the facility processes and determine projects to reduce emissions. Those projects could include equipment improvements, chemical or product substitutions, and additional voluntary emissions controls. As we've been working on evaluating this program, and we've been looking at it for over 2 years now, through thorough examination of this, we have determined that a potential CO2e PCAR program, the administration and enforcement piece, could be handled through the current PCAR structure and existing staff. Adding this new PCAR fee for CO2e, it would impact 36 facilities. All of those facilities already hold a PCAR registration for other equipment or other processes or air emissions. So now we get into the cost of mitigation. The cost of mitigation can be calculated by dividing the total investment in these projects by the reduction in CO2e. So for 5 years, between 2019 and 2023, we spent about $5.2 million on green cost share projects at PCAR properties in Minneapolis. And from that, we reduced an estimated 11,446 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. So that works out to about $452 per ton of CO2e as a cost of mitigation. Now, this legislative directive asked us to evaluate the cost of a CO2e PCAR program that might begin in the year 2025. So we've already determined the cost of mitigating 1 ton of carbon dioxide equivalent. So now we can turn back to the Climate Equity Plan and the cost of CO2e reduction goals to determine the complete cost of mitigation for the year 2025. So we have emissions data from the MPCA for the year 2021. If we make the assumption that we follow the anticipated 15% reduction in emissions between 2021 and 2025, then the goal for year 2025 is to reduce emissions by about 6%. That's calculated due to the 30% reduction goal in the 5 years between 2025 and 2030. So roughly a 6% reduction each year. That leads us to my final slide here, which is a summary of the total cost of a CO2e PCAR program for the year 2025. The estimated CO2e emissions for 2025 would be a little over 10,000 tons. A 6% reduction in that, we would be looking at a goal to reduce a little over 600 tons of CO2e emissions. And the cost of that mitigation to reduce that many tons of CO2e emissions would be $273,826. So you can see that then adding that with the cost of an FTE, we're looking at a total cost of $453,826. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Ashley to complete the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the evaluation of additional pollutants. As Jenny just went over a potential CO2E program, I wanted to share a couple examples from other cities who don't have PCAR fees but do have carbon impact fees. In Burlington, Vermont, as of January of this year, if a building's energy system doesn't meet renewable energy goals, a carbon pollution impact fee is assessed at $150 per anticipated ton of greenhouse gas emissions. Those funds will be used for city fleet electrification and to provide clean heating technologies for low-income households. In Watsonville, California, the fees are equivalent to a % of the building permit fee, depending on the type of project, and the funds are used for greenhouse gas reducing projects outlined in their climate action plan. It is important to understand, however, that a similar carbon impact fee would be complex in Minnesota. According to the city attorney's office, Minnesota cities have little inherent taxing authority outside of property taxes, so it's important to understand the differences between taxes and fees. Fees must be comparable to the city's cost of administering, enforcing, and regulating the issue. Their primary purpose can't be to raise revenue, and so the issue of mitigation fees is particularly tricky. Beyond carbon impact fees, other cities, including Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Louisville, Kentucky, have similar emissions fees for criteria air pollutants, like the PCAR fees in Minneapolis. However, they also have emission fees for hazardous air pollutants and toxic air contaminants, also known as air toxics. Air toxics are pollutants that are known or suspected to cause cancer or other serious health effects or adverse environmental effects. They can include metals, dioxins, furan, benzene, PFAs or forever chemicals, and trichloroethylene. Sources of these include combustion, wildfires, transportation, solvents, and facility processes. Last year, the Minnesota legislature directed the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to create air toxics reporting and regulations rules for the first time. The MPCA is currently in the process of determining which pollutants will be included in these rules based on 5 pollutant lists totaling roughly 1,400 different pollutants. This includes the 188 hazardous air pollutants in the Federal Clean Air Act. Required annual reporting would start in 2026, so facilities would be reporting emissions to the MPCA by April 1st of 2027. This means adding air toxics as additional pollutants to the PCAR fees would likely not be feasible until at least 2028, likely not until 2029, depending on when the emissions reports become available from the state. Because Minneapolis does not collect air emissions reporting data directly from facilities, including air toxics and PCAR fees, is most feasible post the MPCA gathering and reporting the new emissions data. Once that data is available, again at the earliest in 2028, it would be possible to determine an appropriate fee associated with air toxics emissions. However, the health department may be able to utilize data gathered in upcoming air ambient studies to determine which air toxics would be a priority to be added to PCAR fees once the state emissions data is available. This possibility could be further explored with the health department. Moving beyond that, in order to evaluate potential additional pollutants outside of CO2e and air toxics, it would likely be necessary to complete an in-depth cost-benefit analysis of 1, which pollutants are problematic in Minneapolis, and 2, which ones the city could feasibly, effectively, and efficiently monitor and require reporting in order to gather data. Having available annual data is necessary to establish associated PCAR fees. And that concludes our presentation, but we're happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'll pass it to Vice Chair Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. Just quickly, thank you, staff, for this presentation. Greenhouse gas emissions, and specifically the reduction of it, is a high priority amongst our residents, and this was reflected in the climate equity report or climate equity plan that you referenced. I also just want to note, you all's work on this, as someone who's been leading on this issue now for like 2 years, it just shows the crucial importance of having our own legislative research division. You coming and working with the executive side was able to get us concrete information that we've been asking for for several months now. So it feels good to be able to have some next steps to move forward with. And just thank you for your tremendous amount of work and diligence in pulling this report and presentation together. So that's all. I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you both so much. I don't see anybody else on queue, so seeing no further questions, I would direct the clerk to receive and file that report. Finally, our last item is item number 10. It's receiving and filing a report about the Community Commission on Police Oversight and its work during the first year of operations. I will postpone this until the next Public Health and Safety Committee. Yeah, all those in favor? Oh, before I'll let the clerk quickly say something.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say, appreciate the difficulty with scheduling, and I know that we've worked back and forth on this for a few different days, but both the chair and the vice chair of the Community Commission on Police Oversight couldn't be here today. They did submit a letter, which hopefully you have a copy in front of you. So as we look to reschedule, I would just call your attention to the letter from the chair and vice chair submitted on behalf of CCPO, and then happy to come back. I believe the next meeting, and I'll look to the clerk because I'm probably wrong, is July 8th, is that right? July 10th at 1:30. So look forward to doing the presentation then. Thank you.
Thank you so much, clerk. And if I believe this might be on LIMS already, and if not, if we can make sure that we get this letter so we can get it on LIMS, I'll postpone this until the next PHS meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those against say nay. That carries. And I did want to let members of this body know that at the next PHS meeting, we're also going to have an update on the Community Safety Center. We've asked for an update on the engagement component, and we're also going to have a report back on the legislative directive regarding problem nature codes. So we just want to let members know about what's coming in the next cycle. Thank you. Seeing no further before us, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.